comments. So that would carry over into these little periods here as well. The additional reason that you're talking about, it could be testimony probably.
Yes.
Which is really wasn't thought of back when I was doing it. So there were supposed to be parameters, and it wasn't necessarily to have the board, panel, whatever we are, do something. If something came to our attention, we would include it in the annual report. We would, if we get more frequent meetings that Rhonda's recommending, the kind of thing you bring up in that kind of meeting, and saying the public at last month's meeting was saying that pursuits seem to be on the increase, and what's going on with that. And we would be more passing the information along, as opposed to activating us to do something. But that's the kind of parameters she would. It's the kind of comments we got in December, which were all useful. We think about some of those are, the audio ought to be agenda related. We can do that ourselves. All initial complaints ought to trigger a review. That's not something we can do ourselves anyway. Even if we wanted to, right. That's something we can't do ourselves. So you have a whole range of those things. I think the same parameters would apply to that 15 minute, 20 minute.
I like the idea of having a sign up. Personally, I like noticing it and saying that if you want to speak after the completion of routine business at the end of the meeting, there's a 15-minute time period for that, and you can have 4 minutes or whatever.
Can you sign up that night? I think you can do the board. You could sign up if it's not full, right?
I don't know how they do it, but it would be worth finding out how they do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think it's always full.
Yeah, I think they limit it to, 5 or 10 speakers to sign up in advance, or if there's room, I think you can sign up after the meeting.
And we might want to do it once a quarter.
The only other thing that I'll mention is that in working with Gentry on revisions to the website, one of the things we talked about too was having, in response to what we heard at the public forum, is to have a public comment box on the website. So there's always a place to make public comment at the end of the day. I know that Gentry's been working on with the IT folks to be able to make that happen. But that's another avenue that the public would be able to address the panel in some form or fashion.
This is actually a good segue into the next topic, because I see a spillover here, where we're going to talk about public forum. The reason why Doug wanted to put this on the agenda for tonight and discuss it is because we want some kind of an idea this year about whether or not you want to have another public forum, whether or not you want to have it in the way that we've had the other public forums or something different. We do now have, and it was circulated amongst you, a list of the types of complaints that we've seen come in. And so now we have a good reference point to see trends. And I believe the number one type of complaint that we've seen coming in deals with harassment or discrimination, racial profiling, and bias. 2 and 3 would be a violation of law or ordinance and an unprofessional manner. So those are the topics, the top 3 topics that we've seen. So I want to just throw it out there, get your ideas about what you'd like to see this year. I'm not talking about something we do, in the next month or 2, but just like over the course of the next year, during Doug's tenure, what kind of public forum would you like to see? Would you like to continue what we've been doing and have it sort of general, or would you like it maybe specific to an issue, or maybe 2 or 3 issues?
I would really like to see the public forums now take on a specific topic kind of format. I think the ones that we've had thus far have been great to introduce ourselves to the community. I don't know about everybody else, but I often find it frustrating when we get a lot of questions from the community where we're really not in a position to respond to them, because it's a very broad, tell us about anything that's on your mind, and we have such a limited role to be able to actually address and respond to the comments. Personally, I find that somewhat frustrating. So I think we've done enough to introduce ourselves within the community, and I would like to see us take on topics. The topics that you identified, I think, are great. Adrian and I had the opportunity to review a file this past week on one complaint that we were liaisons on that involved missing persons and mental health. And to add to your list, I would really like to have a public forum where we present that topic to the community so that they can get an understanding of what it means to file a missing persons report in that context, the timing of it, get maybe some public reaction to that. And it really is that intersection of mental health and public safety that is very concerning.
Anybody else? Adrian?
Reluctantly, not because I'm agreeing with you, but I'm agreeing that the general forums have probably served their purpose. And if we have a comment period 4 times a year, then you've got your question and answer time 4 times a year. Then you get 4 times a year people can come and speak about general things. So that would actually cover that. If we do that. I agree with both those. I think the, a racial profiling and harassment discrimination forum would be good. And the case we were talking about had aspects on both sides, the family complainant side and the police department side, about who could do what, and there was lack of knowledge on both sides of that. We don't have request for review yet or anything like that, but it's one of those things that we've learned about. I think that would be, those kinds of topics would be great. They would, as I mentioned earlier, they will take a lot of work on the panel's part, and the police, some, and Julie's some, to get all exactly when you can expect a missing persons and what you can expect in terms of racial non-discrimination in terms of neutrality and things like that. You can't. I don't think you can just go and say, let's talk about it if you're going to get anything out of it. But I agree fully with that, particularly if we have quarterly 15-minute open mics, for lack of a better word.
Hansel, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about having a racial profiling, since you've had so much to say about statistics and things like that. It just seems to me like that is a topic that is full of possible subtopics, and that being one of them is statistical analysis.
Yeah, I think that would be very useful for the community to have that discussion. I think Commander Lee, is that the command? Major, sorry. One, he will always promote the survey that they did a few years back in collaboration with George Mason. And I think that report is very telling. I mean, it was a few years dated, but it's very telling of these kind of racial disparities, and that we need to discuss a little bit more. And maybe it could even open up the door for updating that survey and even including the panel, the auditor. Okay, now we have civilian oversight. What's it doing for these kind of perceptions in the community? Is it doing anything? And I think that tells us, that's kind of a report card for us. It tells us what the community thinks about what we're doing.
Anyone else? I like the idea of having a public forum on racial profiling. At the last forum, that seemed to be a major area of concern in the community. I think to follow up on that would be important for the panel to address that issue. I do agree that we would have to give a lot of thought to how we present it and how we advertise it. But to hear back from the community in a real meaningful way about problems that they think are occurring in that area, I think would be a very fruitful line of conversation to have in the community. Okay, well, that's good. That's good thought. I would like to know your idea of whether or not you want a single topic, 2 or 3 topics. My personal opinion is if you do something like racial profiling, you probably want to just do that.
Yes.
Anything in mental health, you can't
Yeah.
do that. The other 2, you might,
Right.
but that seems a lesser priority. They're important aspects to it. But the community's really worried about those 2 things, I think, mental health, and that intersection, and the racial bias issues.
How long are the forums typically?
Well,
Maybe we had.
we've had 3 forums, and they're usually a couple, 3 hours, couple.
They're
We can do whatever.
They're scheduled an hour and a half, aren't they, 7:30 to 9?
They usually go 2 hours.
Yeah, they generally run longer, but we haven't had this kind.
But
No,
this,
we
yeah,
haven't
this
had-
format would be
You
different.
might have an outside,
More
you might have an outside
information.
speaker who comes in
Right.
and talks to you, but you might have a panel of people.
Yeah, and this one we could have at the government center. We wouldn't have to have it,
Yeah, we could have.
we could have it at the auditorium and help fill it up, you know. Do you have any ideas about timing when you'd like to see something like this?
I think it'd be early summer. That would give us time to put the presentation together. And it's close enough to the last forum we had that it doesn't look as though we discounted what the community said. So I think any sooner than like June or so would make it difficult for us really to put together a presentation that we would want to put out and then have public comment on it. But I wouldn't want to go beyond that because then I think we did our last one in November, December.
Yeah, once you get into the summer, people are busy and have vacations and things, maybe late May or June or something.
Yeah.
I think if it were late May, that would be fine, otherwise skip to September.
Okay.
For precisely that reason, because once June hits, everyone's off doing various sundry different things. September's always a good month to try to draw people back together to get refocused, but I could support May too.
You're going to need a fair amount of statistics from the police, fairly current. Rich, we don't have 18 yet, do we? No, we just, we don't have 17 yet, do we? 17 statistics.
It was just released.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, but you have to say what you want, because that's use of force and not broken down to stops and frisks and all those kinds of things, which is where people.
Well, are you going to be working on something that goes beyond just use of force?
At this point, we're not. We're looking at, because the statistics that we have all relate back to the use of force, or uses of force.
I thought I heard you say at one point you were interested in looking at stops or something.
I'm hopeful to do that down the
Down the
road, but
road.
I'm not afraid of that.
That's a recommendation from the ad hoc commission and that implementation group that I also work with. We did a report in October, and one of our 6 things was we're not seeing that data by stops, risks, arrests, and all that kind of stuff. So we're hopefully having a discussion with the police department about those kinds of things. But it hasn't been forthcoming, and that recommendation was approved by the board of supervisors. So that's an approved thing, that they are to be collecting by all those categories of events. All interactions with the public are supposed to be tracked by whatever.
It strikes me that
factors
that
you-
might
yeah.
be a way to facilitate a better discussion at a public forum by maybe putting out their specific recommendations like that and having discussions center around those recommendations or issues
One way of
that
looking
we
at it is
delineate
if you
instead of
have-
just having a free-for-all.
Sorry.
you know.
If you have this forum, you're going to prompt the police department to have to come up with some of that information.
Yeah.
Because if you say, the panel would like to form, and we'd like to have through 2017, let's say 18 just happened, just 2 months ago. Stops, frisks, they have that information. It's capturable, and they have it. I think, Richard, they have it, right? It's just a matter of the computer spitting it out. By district, maybe? In Whole County by district? How many stops were, pick it, male, female, old, young, Hispanic, African American, other, or whatever. And that might prompt that to have the backward effect of causing that to happen.
Rhonda, I think that this might be beneficial, this is just my personal opinion, to raise this with your meeting, at your meeting, that we're thinking about having a public forum on this, and that we would need the cooperation with the police to provide us information.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're just talking in
Right.
hypotheticals.
Right.
The theories of racial discrimination doesn't do anything with it.
So we'll talk, you and Doug can talk more about that.
Okay.
So if, any other conversation about forums? All right,
I would just say May rather than September. I mean,
We can- if we
9
pull
months
it
from the
off.
last forum seems,
That's
That's
too
what I
much
was
fun.
wondering, is it gonna be enough time to really pull it together
Yeah.
by May, because this is March now.
yeah,
It
it's
is
March,
March.
it's really going to be
Yeah, because you got to have the drafts, you know, get the police to do that in that time frame.
Yeah, I think
And-
September would be better.
It's also such a big topic that I think the panel really needs to set an objective for what it's trying to achieve in terms of a presentation. Racial profiling is a huge topic. So what are we trying to do with that? Are we trying to get information from the citizens about their views on it? Are we trying to disseminate information about what's going on in the county with it? Is it a little bit of both? You know, I think we really have to set some objectives for what we're trying to achieve with the forum.
I agree. Would it be also helpful, and this just occurred to me, to have a subcommittee work out the details about this? Because, you know, we don't meet but once a month, and there's 9 of us. It would seem like maybe there should be a diverse subcommittee that we could meet and talk about some of these things.
Yep.
yes, that's an excellent idea. Otherwise, we're just doing it month to month.
Yeah.
The subcommittee could
Yeah.
meet.
Yeah.
I'd like to suggest, and maybe there's not an interest in this, but if we push this big topic on racial profiling to September, do we have time to put together a public forum on the missing person and mental health in the next 2 months? So that we could do something in May,
Easier to do.
and then push this bigger topic, more complex topic, to the September time.
I can support that idea. I think the big linchpin for me on that one, because I do think that we do need, maybe not in the statistics, but in terms of my way of thinking, the police would still have to participate really to come and, because I see part of this is presenting information about how do you get on the list to be a missing person? When can you be listed? What are the steps you have to go through as a family member to ensure that your family member in crisis can be listed on the registries and all that they have for a missing person? So I do see that we would need police department support, an officer to come and speak. So we'd have to be able to line that up by May. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't support
It matters, she mentioned the one that she and I looked at, that as in many of these, when we look at them, if something's a little off, they will always adopt new training and things like that. So the police have tried to structure it so that situation won't happen again. And so that's why they would need to come in, and they could even, it wouldn't be about that case, obviously, but there's a lot there. But they would have to implement, and somebody, if not Julie or somebody, have to sort of, what does Virginia law actually require? The police could do that, but maybe it's not appropriate to sort of have them do that as opposed to their policy. or a outside expert in it, you know, somebody who's a lawyer or something, seems, and a lot easier to put together, or which one you said it for May, but still very important. And it's understand that the sooner that happens, the better the public knows and it doesn't happen again. You know, so there is a little bit of time
Do you
there.
think